Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. As you know, this is not something that I've achieved, but something that we're both working on together, right? And after over 240 podcasts, I hope we're a little bit farther down the road. And each week, I'm excited to bring to you either wisdom that I've been given to myself or wisdom of other people who have joined with me in this cause of crafting a meaningful life. And today, I'm very fortunate to have Joel Green with me on the podcast. He is an ex-pro basketball player. You don't say ex, do you? You say former pro basketball player. And he reached out through his agent to me directly and said, hey, I think I might be a good fit for you. And lo and behold, as I read his bio and read what his new book is about and read all the things that he could speak about, I thought, damn, this guy is a good fit for me. So Joel Green, welcome.
Mary, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so tell me, what do you think after all the things you've done, what qualifies you to be a guest and learn to speak about crafting a meaningful life?
Well, again, crafting, meaning you have to have some tools in order to craft anything. So I feel like I've picked up on a number of tools, a host of tools, just through various experiences, through various mentors, through a number of even notable figures that I've come across, Kobe Bryant, and a few other people over the years that just really, just imparted different things into me that has helped craft my life. I'm a melting pot of a whole lot of other people, a ton of mentors, a ton of experiences, a ton of defeat, death, divorce, a whole lot of different things that has crafted my life to where it's allowed me to actually help other people craft their lives. So I would say, just based off of those experiences and things like that, it's allowed me to be eligible to be on this platform.
And I love that. And we talk about everything on my show from, how to live diversity, equality, and inclusion, all the way over to how to heal your life through the emotion code, through how struggle is, the things I learned on Kilimanjaro. There's so many different things we talk about here, and each one of them are part of that crafting a meaningful life. As I read through your bio, Joel, it was really kind of incredible to me where you started and where you are today. And I know that the number one reason that you're like this is because you looked at what was happening around you and you made a conscious decision to change, to lift up from that and to be different. I'm 69, but when I retired from my company at 65, and for years ago, I used to cater the Utah beauty pageant, state beauty pageant. And people would be on stage, and of course the judges were asking them the same questions over and over every year. But the number one question was, in your opinion, what do you think is the largest problem the world is facing today? And the beauty contestants on stage would say things like, world peace, world hunger. Okay, I get that. But in the back, I'm yelling in my brain, accountability! That's the number one problem. If people were just accountable, we could solve world peace. We could solve world hunger. So obviously I can see this is a huge process in your life. Tell me about how you use accountability to step up, level up to where you are.
Again, accountability is everything, literally, for me. It's about being honest with yourself. Accountability is about looking in the mirror and saying, okay, here's truly what's going on. Here's what I've done. Here's what I look like, whatever the case is. But here's how I can move forward. But it's hard for us to really make progress without seeing where we have voids and errors in judgment where we currently are. And that comes by way of accountability. And, I told a group not too long ago of how I used to be called, and my whole circle of friends used to be called products of our environments. And I said when I was younger, I accepted that mindset, but it wasn't until I got a little bit older, maybe about 18, 19 years old. I'm like, I'm not a product of my environment. My environment is a product of me, because as I was told that I was a product of my environment, that removed accountability from me and made me just blame my environment for whoever I was going to become. So the moment I say no, I actually control what's around me. I create, I deteriorate, I do things by my hands. And I help myself accountable for my future at that point and what I was able to do on the basketball court. And I said, my environment is a product of my hands. So accountability for me is everything. That's how I've been able to level up over the years by really looking in the mirror, holding myself accountable for whatever takes place, even broken hearts. If my heart is broken, I was just telling someone, I think 2 days ago, that there's still beauty. The beauty of a broken heart is the fact that if you picture a heart being broken, it's open now. It's now open to things that it was once closed to before. Now you can, mend that heart and be even stronger when it comes back together. But for myself, I hold myself accountable for everything. And that always helps me to level up. It's hard not to.
I think about this accountability so many times through the day, but I have to be honest with you. I've never thought of it in terms of a broken heart because I can be accountable for everything except I've always wanted to blame somebody else for if I had a broken heart. But you are absolutely right. That just was like a light bulb at the top of my head, like, duh. Of course, I was allowing myself to be in that position. I was allowing this to happen. And so how could I be anything else but accountable if he left my life?
Right.
Wow. Okay, thanks for that, Joel.
Right. You don't always want to accept it because I know I don't, but it's like you have to. You have to. That's funny.
But the good news about accepting accountability for everything is it means that you can what? Change everything. If it's somebody else's fault, you can't change it. But if I'm responsible, if I'm accountable, the good news is I can change it. And when I think back on it, Joel, I certainly have. I let go of some of those behaviors of mine that kept putting me in that kind of a victim relationship over and over again until finally at age 50, I woke up and said, dang, I got to change this. And I did. That's been 19 years ago that I've lived in this 100% accountable life. It makes a difference. It really does. I tell people all the time, if you live in Victimville, there's a train leaving every day and you can either be on it or not. And I'd see you got on the train, bang, and you went out of town.
I want to stay on that train. That's
yeah, right? Okay, I like you and me. I'll look over at you like, Joe, good to see you again today.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, you have something very exciting happening in September. So tell my listeners, when I saw the title to your book, I thought, bang, I should have wished I'd taken that. Because it's such a beautiful concept. So tell people about your book and what to expect and find inside of it.
So the name of my book is Filtering: The Way to Extract Strength from the Struggle is the subtitle of it. And, the filtering, it's a method that I came up with myself about 7 or 8 years ago. And I began speaking it from the stage. And so many people will say, you have to write a book. And I've been hearing that since I was a teenager, just from things that I went through, losing my older brother, one of my brothers, and being around a shooting when I was 6 years old and all this stuff. And, when I wasn't comfortable writing the book initially until I knew this thing really worked for my life. I would speak it as I was practicing the method and the tool of filtering. But as I really began to see it, propel me in my life, in my emotional states and, getting me beyond anxieties and insecurities, I said, I have to write about it, and got serious about it and, said, okay, just make sure that you refine this method for people so that it can really help them right away and give them some protocol in their lives when they're faced with different, distraught moments and just, good times and bad times. It's not just about bad times, but you can use filtering for the good times too. And I've done that in the past. I've won a lot of championships in basketball, and I filter
what? You play basketball?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
So you found growth. So let me understand that. You found growth not in just the struggle, but you also found growth in the fun?
Absolutely. And that's the best part about it, to where I talk to many groups, and I let them know, I don't want you to only focus on applying filtering in the bad times. Now, obviously, you will feel like you need it more there than you would elsewhere. And, I have a quote where I've told people, save your optimism for the bad times, right? Because then we're always optimistic when things are sunny and bright. But when it's bad, we're not that optimistic. We're negative. It's like, no, save some of that optimism you have for the bad times. But with filtering, that's what it helps you do. It helps you to see amidst the bad times, it helps you see the brighter side, because filtering will take you into a emotional brainstorming phase. And you start to really lean into what's going on and you question it, but void of emotion. So I tell people all the time, don't ask, why me? Why is this going on? Remove the emotion, because that's gonna cloud it. You have to just ask, why? Okay, why is this actually taking place? Why is this going on? But void of the emotion, because that will cloud every bit of judgment you have.
It's an interesting thing, Joel, between you and I that you didn't know we had in common. I also have a book coming out in September.
Get out of here, nice.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's
gonna
the
have to
same.
get it then.
They have to go on Amazon, buy both of our books. Okay, so
Absolutely.
tell people the name of your book again.
So my book is Filtering, and the subtitle is The Way to Extract Strength from the Struggle.
Okay, and my
Mhm.
book is entitled Unbounded, From Sorrow to Summit.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So we both have a main word and then a subtitle.
Love it.
Did you
Love
ever
it.
believe that you'd be same with me?
Right, look, I mean, look, I will be getting your book ASAP. Trust me.
And yours as well, because I think that is
I
a
appreciate it.
profound book and will make so many differences in people's lives. You know, one of the things that I also read online about you was a concept that you like to speak on, which is that you don't just learn things, or you can't just look for fun in your life. It can't just be always, hey, I'm heading towards the fun. I need the fun. Bring the fun on. Okay.
No.
But it's something more than that, that you actually have to be focused on the growth, the strength, the struggle. And
Yep.
most people, it seems like you learned this. And when I say a pretty young age, I don't mean 8 or 9. I mean, you learned this in a pretty young age, in your early 20s. Honey, I didn't learn this until I was in my 50s. So you were a young age. Let's get the
That's
perspective right.
funny.
Um,
Uh,
but so many people now, I feel like that is their focus.
yeah.
That they, like when I used to own my company, just before I retired, this didn't really happen until close to then. When people would come in and interview, they would ask the question, so is it fun?
Mhm.
Well, actually, yeah, it's a lot of fun to work for me, but
Mhm.
it's also hard work.
The
And they're like,
work.
well,
Right.
like what? What
Exactly.
do you mean hard work? So
Exactly.
I'm sure you've
Yep.
seen that in your life where people have been only focused on just like bring on the fun and not
Right.
realizing, right? That the other side's
Exactly.
where that growth is.
Right. I mean, that's what it's all is about. And I tell people that the fun isn't always first, or the fun ain't always first. I tell people that all the time. And for me, the fun lasts longer when you're willing to go through a process in order to get to that fun. The fun is only quick fun a lot of times when you go straight to the fun. It's like it'll last that long, and all of a sudden you're looking back like, man, why this isn't fun anymore? It's because you didn't go through the process, through the refinement to actually get to that other side, to actually have some longevity to that fun, to that enjoyment. And that's where even relationships, you jump right into the fun. A little too fast, too soon. You guys didn't get a chance to know each other,
You
to
know
go through
me?
the process. You know what I mean? It's
Have you been watching me?
like so it's the fun ain't always first. You know what I mean? It's like if you're willing to go through the process, the foundational stuff, it's like, man, the other side of that hard work is so worth it. It's so worth it.
It is. That one of the things I know we have in common is our thought process on the word excuses. I'll tell
Absolutely.
you what,
Yeah.
if you are still using excuses in your life, no matter what age you are, I see people who are my age, who are still
Mm,
using excuses. Well, I would do more or be more if I just didn't
mm,
have X, Y, and Z. Or you got to
right,
give me a pass on this because of this, or
right.
you don't know anything about my growing up years or my environment.
Mm,
If I had your talents, Mary, I could be cool. Honey, I didn't have these talents. I developed these talents.
right,
Okay.
exactly,
And
exactly.
so when I know finding excuses for you would have been so easy, but you did something else instead of make excuses for yourself. You
Yeah, I
made
mean,
adjustments.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's what it's all about for me. I actually look forward to, not look forward to, but I get excited about finding a way out, or finding a new way, or finding an adjustment to make. It's a part of the adventure for me when it comes to life. It's like, okay, this didn't go exactly the way I wanted to. All right, bet, let's do this. Let's go to the drawing board. Let's take out a pencil and a blank sheet of paper and figure out a way to adjust to the situation. And as opposed to just sulking or blaming or, not moving. I have to keep moving. I don't give myself any other option. And it's a method that I wrote about in my book called the Noun Method, no other way. Like I don't give myself any other options. I have to keep moving forward no matter what. So having that mindset makes me come up with a way to adjust.
So where do you find, I guess, maybe the courage? Because it takes courage. And I mean, you took your life out of somebody else's hands and you put it in your hands. That took courage. How do people find that courage if they feel like, oh, I wouldn't be brave enough to do that? I wouldn't be brave enough to move away from, or like in a bad marriage, I wouldn't be brave enough. I wouldn't have the courage to go out on my own. I need to stay stuck here and have my life be run by somebody else. They just don't feel that they have the courage. How do people find that?
I mean, honestly, I'm secure being insecure, right? So
Oh,
I'm okay.
say that one more time. That was profound.
I'm secure in being insecure. And what
Ah,
I mean by that is I'm okay being imperfect. I don't my attempts doesn't have to be a perfect attempt. My attempt or what I'm trying to do doesn't have to be without error. And knowing that I can courageously move forward toward a certain objective or try to move beyond a certain fear or whatever the case is, being perfectly fine with failing or not knowing, hey, it won't be a perfect attempt, but guess what I can do? I can make an adjustment the next time around. And that's when, like I said, I have an excitement when it comes to making adjustments because I'm okay with failing the first time. So having that mindset, I don't feel like much can stop me. I'm a religious person too. So I'm like, okay, I know I have God's help. God's behind me. He's going to push me. So I'm like, I have no problem trying something, being willing to fail. Some people may see it as courageous. I see myself as having blinders on to defeat because it's just, I win some and I learn some. I'm undefeated at this point.
because it's always a win for you, isn't it?
There's always a win, in some
Whether
capacity.
you
So
are defeated or whether you see a victory, it's still a win.
I get something from every side. From every side.
Now,
I'm gaining something from every side.
now I'm not, I love to watch basketball. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, I have season tickets for my Utah Jazz.
Oh, love it, love it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Nice.
I'm a basketball fan at heart because it's the most exciting game out there. It truly is. Yeah, trust
Oh,
me.
yeah.
I go to
Wait,
all of them, and that basketball one that holds my attention like this.
you just moved up my friends list like
Oh,
that
okay,
much. You
okay.
know what?
But so I may be misquoting this guy, but I think it's Michael Jordan that said this. But you'll know because you'll know this quote. You always miss 100% of all the shots you don't take. Is that Michael
Yeah,
Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
Okay, great.
Him,
Okay.
him, him and Wayne Gretzky both said it
Ah,
in different ways. Yep.
and yeah, well, obviously Wayne being in hockey. See how I knew that?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
I like sports. I really do, even though I didn't play any of them till I turned 50. Okay, so let me backtrack this a little bit. So by age 50, because I lived in Victimville, I had allowed myself, notice how I took accountability, I had allowed
Mhm.
myself to be 284 pounds. And I was so stuck in Victimville. I felt like there were cement blocks on the end of my feet.
Wow.
When I finally was able to break through, I did that because I took accountability for me. And now here I am 19 years later, half the size that I was. And sports, I mean, I still can't throw a ball, but I can climb mountains and I climbed Kilimanjaro. I can play golf. I can play pickleball. I think I might be too old to learn tennis, but you know what I mean? And I can actually play basketball. I found out I could actually
You're young. Stop it. You're young. Stop it.
So, but the way I did that was having the courage to do that. The first step, there is a first step, and I know you know about this first step, and that is what you do every single day. That's what matters. It doesn't matter what goal you set, where I'm putting my feet every day. So like in climbing Kilimanjaro, there were so many times I couldn't see the summit. I knew in my head where I was going, but I couldn't see it. So then I had to set a goal that was maybe like 50 yards in front of me. And that was my goal.
Perfect.
But if I didn't watch where every single step was going, bing, I mean, you might not even make that 50 yards. So you had to look every second of where you were going, looking at the goals, down where I'm going, looking at the goal, and just thinking in my brain, there's a summit up there. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And I think that daily activity has a lot to do with how you accomplished your goals. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I speak on often, focusing on the journey. It's not about the end result. It's not about what happens at the end of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's going to simply be a byproduct of all that you do today. If you handle today's moment properly and correctly, it's going to prep you for tomorrow. You'll have everything, I dare say, and more that you even originally set out to get, because you're so focused in the moment. You're so in tune with the moment. And me, as an athlete, I learned that as far as, that was called being in the zone. That was just all about, being fully in tune and engaged in what's in front of you. And I apply that in life, just as you said, now, outside of sports, I apply the same mentality and approach to where I must be fully engaged in the moment. Even if I have 10 different things that I do as a professional right now, I'm only doing one thing at a time. When I'm doing something, I'm only doing that one thing at a time. So people literally come to me and say, man, you do this. I'm like, I do one thing. I do one thing.
People often think that women can multitask better than men, but you and I both know the truth of that. Our brain synapse is a little quicker, so we can switch a little faster. Yeah. But everyone, male or female, can only do one thing at that moment in time.
One thing.
And that's where your focus is. I love that. When I think about you as an athlete, I mean, that for someone like me who never stepped a foot in the gym until I was 50, that kind of fortitude, that kind of daily commitment that you have now, since age 50, I go 6 days a week to the gym and I don't miss. Okay. I know about that. But you were able to do that at such a long age. And you said at one point in your bio that you have to focus beyond your feelings. And I stopped at that because here on this podcast, I tell people to bring on more feelings, to let their feelings, their emotions determine where they're going. But you said you have to go beyond your feelings. So tell me what you mean about that.
Well, again, I speak to athletes a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
That right. So that's where I actually began saying that. And I kept track of it once I began saying it, and kind of broke it down even more. But let's look. Okay, so you know about the gym. So you're not always going to feel like doing that.
Yeah.
Hardly ever. I don't always feel like working out. Like I work out every day as well.
Yeah.
I don't always feel like working out, and people may look at me and know, okay, he's an athlete and this and that on site. I'm 6'8", I'm in pretty good shape, and they think I feel like doing this. Right. Yeah. Right. I'm up there somewhere. It's like, I don't always feel like doing it. I have to work out later. Well, today I don't mind working out. I kind of feel good right now, but every day I don't feel that way.
Not every
And that's
day.
why right, not every day, especially if it's a 5-10 workout or something in the morning.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel like doing it, but that's where you have to ignore your feelings. You can't lean into your feelings at that moment because then your pillow is going to feel amazing. And then you want your pillow to feel amazing or you to feel amazing. In order for you to feel
Okay.
amazing is this is where you have to apply exactly what we talked about earlier is say, okay, the fun isn't always first. You know what I mean? Like you can't enjoy it. That moment is not about it being fun. It's not about it being a happy moment. It's not about anything else besides you getting your behind up and saying, here's what I need to do versus here's what I feel like doing. And that's when you have to literally ignore your feelings. And, I've told people before and I've gotten kickback on it until I broke it down, but I've told some people not to follow their heart. I know it was a tough thing for people to accept. When I told them that it was a small group. And again, once I elaborated, I said, well, look, if your heart is in a bad place or in an incorrect place, I don't want you to follow your heart because some of our hearts are damaged, when it comes to different situations and scenarios. So I don't want you to follow your heart for every single situation. You got to kind of know where your heart is concerning this area of your life, concerning that area of your life. You may be perfect concerning finances and this and that, but in regards to, let's say, personal relationships, you may have some damage there because of things that may have happened in the past. So I don't want you to follow your heart immediately without some assessment. So for me, I
Oh,
don't always follow my heart and my feelings to where I can
okay.
tell that may not be the best direction for me to go into.
I understand what you're saying now. I do. Because in those, you can imagine in those 19 years to start training this old body to be fit. And people ask me all the time, do you compete? And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, that's not why I'm
That's
doing
right.
this.
Yeah.
But I was still a working girl when I
Mhm.
turned 50. And I didn't, for 15 years, I was still working. And I can relate to those feelings. I'd come home
Mhm.
after a hard day of work and think about going to the gym. And I'd be like, ugh, really? I think my
Right.
body needs
No
sleep
way.
more. But
Exactly.
you had to think beyond the immediacy of the
Yeah.
feeling to the long
Yeah.
range goal to think of that summit. You had to
Exactly.
think of that and then dream of it and what that end goal looks like. That helped me move past those immediate feelings of like, uh, if you
And can
stay stuck in, it doesn't work.
and here's the funny thing. You just said something that I'm big on. So I'm big on creating new feelings, right? So what you just said was something that I've described before, and I believe I've even wrote about it. Was you think about that summit, you think about that goal, and with that goal, it creates a revitalized feeling inside of you that can combat that original feeling. And now you can live off of that new feeling. And that's when you can get up and get to work. But if you don't think about that vision, if you don't have a vision, you're stuck because there's nothing to really motivate you to actually get up and do what you know you need to be doing.
Have you ever been at the gym? I'm sure you have your own private gym now, but have you ever been at the gym though, and you see people like every 5 seconds turning to check out that
Right.
tricep, or the like,
Absolutely. Just
or
flexing. Right.
girls
Right.
look at their booties, ooh, ooh, yeah,
Right.
yeah, girl. And
That's it. I've seen
I
it.
worked out at the gym every day for 6 years without ever looking because
Wow.
I knew I wasn't enough.
Hmm.
And finally, when
Gotcha.
I emotionally began to feel like, hey, I am enough. I was
Hmm.
born enough. I am enough. And I am enough. And one day I was at the gym saying that in my brain and I went like this and I was like,
Love
damn girl, look at you.
it. You're more than enough. Exactly. Right.
I
Right.
had no idea.
I
And so I
love it.
turned around, looked at my booty, clenched that baby down, look
Yeah,
at my
you're right.
tricep.
Exactly.
Whoa. Yeah. And
Love
when you
yourself. Right.
finally stop to realize that you are enough, whatever you set your mind to do, I tell people when I speak two things. One, it's never too late. And if they think there's too late in their life, I'm like, come stand toe to toe with me and say that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what the second thing is that nothing is impossible.
Absolutely.
And stand toe to
Completely
toe to
agree.
me and believe that something is impossible. You
Hmm.
are a living proof of that as well, Joel, that it's never too late and nothing
Absolutely.
is impossible. You have lived
Absolutely.
that.
I appreciate that. Seriously, I really appreciate that. And I respect that about you. Seriously, that's major. And I agree completely.
Now, if I'd been 6'8", my life might have been different too, but
Right. Little, I'm sure a little bit, right. Right.
because I'm sure people didn't let you be. Then when you're that tall, people are always like right there, like, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to
Exactly.
move? What are you going to make of
Right.
yourself?
You play
And so
basketball, right? Right, exactly. Okay.
you must play basketball. I don't know.
Right.
I was good friends for a long time with Mark Eaton before passed
Okay.
away, who played for the Utah Jazz.
About
And
7'4". Yeah, I know Mark.
he
Yeah.
is 7'4",
Hmm.
and he wrote a book, and then he used to speak a lot before he passed away. And unfortunate, he had a heart attack. His body his little heart couldn't keep up with pumping the blood to all
Hmm.
those areas. So
Right.
he passed away, but way before his time. But he always would tell a story of when he was working as a mechanic
Really.
in California. That's where he's from, in a
Hmm.
mechanic shop. And every day this guy would drive by, turn around and come back and come in, and he'd see Mark, and he'd
That's
say the same
crazy.
thing. Do you play basketball?
Right, right,
He said,
right.
no, I don't play basketball. I mean, you should. Anyway, but he came by like for 6 months, stopping every day. And Mark would be like, oh my gosh, here comes that guy again. He could
Yeah,
walk up and he
that's
goes,
funny.
do you play basketball? No, I told you I don't ever play basketball.
Right.
Stop
That's
stopping
funny.
here. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But this guy kept believing in him and kept
Hmm.
coming. And so finally got him to go to junior college where he
Hmm.
did play basketball, but he
Wow.
wasn't very good. And then finally, Frank Layton is an old coach at the Utah Jazz,
The Utah, yeah,
and
right.
so he brought him, and by golly, he became one of our best players. And they retired his jersey. I think also,
Hmm. It's
I
amazing.
like to put it this way: you've got to look for your champions.
Hmm.
We all need a champion, whether it's ourselves or someone else that believes in us.
Hmm.
Who have been some of the best champions for you?
Man, had quite a few. My parents, both of them, not one over the other. Both my
Mm.
parents, they've been champions for me. They've taught me and ingrained in me that spirit of I can and the faith, to where there's no room for doubt in me. It's just, it doesn't exist. And I mean it, not
There's
with
no
any,
room for doubt. I love that.
there's no room. And I'm saying that with every bit of humility, no arrogance behind it, but there's just literally no room in me for it. So if I want to do something, I pursue it as if it's already mine. And,
Yes.
again, that I get that from my parents. I've seen what they do. I've seen them get us out of an abandoned home. And, we had holes in our staircase. And like I told you, before, wearing donated clothes. And
Yeah.
I saw what they did. And I'm like, okay, I, you know, I come from them. I know I can do something similar or things just as great. So my parents, no doubt about it. I've had a couple coaches too in particular. One, Clyde Jones, one of my high school coaches, who just believed in me that I can do things that I wasn't doing at the time. But he gave me a vision that he had for me. And I'm like, all right. And I bought into it. And he worked my behind off. He would come drive 35 minutes, pick me up, then drive me 45 minutes to a gym that we used to train at. And Saturday morning, put a weight vest on me, had me do defensive slides full court. We would do this week after week. And he made me meet the vision he had for me that I didn't even have for myself. And he made me believe myself on a different level on the court. And I had another coach in college who I won a national championship with, Bill Lewitt, who he helped me to see a side of myself I didn't know existed. He pushed me to my threshold, my limit, and then he pushed me to my new limit, then my new limit, and I just kept growing like literally every single day. And just I had my best mile time running with him. I just had my best performances, playing with it because he pushed me so hard, and I needed it. So I mean, those are some champions right there from my parents, those two coaches, and again, there's a host of others still I've come across, but those in particular, they helped me to see what I didn't see, and that's what I needed. My parents helped me to see a vision of life to where it's like, nope, there's always someone on the other side of this. Don't be so emotionally, distraught. with this moment to where you don't see anything beyond it. You gotta see beyond this thing. You gotta have a vision for yourself and write it down and make the vision plain. They used to tell me that. And that's biblical. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll believe it. I'm gonna trust it. And my coach is the same thing. They gave me a plan. They had a vision for me, and fortunately I bought into it.
Very fortunate. So last night, when I saw my boyfriend and I said to him, I said, "Hey, John, have you ever," because he played a lot of sports, but he's
Correct.
like me, he's a little older. And he played basketball. He even played for the
Correct.
minors in baseball. That's
Nice.
his main thing is baseball. So I said to him,
That's
I
cool.
said, "Have you ever heard of Joel Green?" I said, "He's going to be on my podcast tomorrow morning." He thought for a minute. I said, "He used to be a pro basketball player." And he thought for a minute and he goes, "Yeah, I remember Joel." He said he didn't play pro very long, but I
Hmm.
can remember this guy in college.
Right.
He was one of the best. He's on your podcast?
That's
I'm
cool.
like,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And
Mhm.
so I started thinking about that, about this process that you went through that didn't end,
Mhm.
from lifting yourself out of, some of the poorer parts of Philadelphia to what you became, to going to
Mhm.
college, to actually being drafted into pro ball. And then that didn't work out. What you had worked for your entire life, you didn't stay there very long.
Right.
You could have, after that happened, life could have been a downhill slide for you. It could have.
Hmm.
But you chose something different. What skills did you use to turn those lemons into lemonade?
Well, it's a mentality, and I've been defeated leading up to that point before, but
Mm.
this was a different type of defeat because it was something that I've done for over 20 years of my life, and I just knew it would work out for as long as I desired for it to work out. And I went through my anxiety, no
Oh
question.
yeah.
I became insecure in ways I didn't know I could even become insecure because I was always this high-powered athlete that could do things that most people couldn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
do know.
I went I went through a lot and through depressive states, everything. And I could have continued to play, but I also had an itch to start my own company.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to say, my last contract, a lot of people don't know. I was actually sent home from my last contract. I was playing in Venezuela in South America. Great contract down there, making money. And I got sick. Had food poisoning and I
Oh,
lost close to 10 pounds in about 7 days. And I'm
wow.
already a fairly thin guy. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it
you're
was like,
already really lean. You're running way
right,
under
I can't
10%.
afford
I got body fat. I
high
got you.
metabolism. I can't afford to be losing weight, you know?
Yeah.
I get pushed around. So I lost weight and we still had our 2 days practice and we had back-to-back games and it was hard for me to handle. I'm not going
Yeah.
to say I couldn't, but I tried and I almost passed out one of the games.
Ah,
And in the middle of the game, it became dangerous. And they actually you said, look, we're going to send you home. I was averaging about 19 points up to this time. And
wow.
for about two straight games, I averaged like five. And that
Ah,
was all it took for them. So
okay.
I saw the state of basketball in different areas too. I'm like, they didn't care about me in a way that I thought I should have been. I was the star of the team. It was me and one other person. But the
Yeah.
moment my performance dropped because I was just sick, I couldn't even make it up to my apartment one evening.
Yeah.
I laid down on one of the platforms of the stairs because I lived up on the third floor. I just couldn't make it up. And,
Wow.
so that led to a little bit of depression, because I'm like, man, I worked so hard for this and I get sent home after I get sick and they didn't care. I didn't even want to see the court for, a week or so, but that was a long week. Normally I'm on the court every day, multiple times a day. And but it helped me. It helped me to really lean into what I've been wanting to do. In addition to that, I already had businesses on the side during my off seasons that I would do. And I'm like, you know what? This is giving me that open door that I kind of prayed for to really see how my business can work if I gave it a little bit of if I gave it
Mm.
some full time. And that, 11 years later,
Look at
we're
that.
still in business
You're just
with,
still drinking the lemonade.
You're right. Exactly. Exactly. Still drinking and still adding a whole lot of lemons that were thrown at me during that time. I still have a whole pile of lemons that was
Yeah,
thrown at
yeah,
me.
yeah. I get you.
And I'm adding it to the lemonade every day, and it's I utilize that anger, that depression, that sadness, that madness, everything. I apply
Mm.
that energy that I get from those things to what I'm doing today. I literally even remind myself, and it may sound crazy, Mary, but there's moments to where I need some energy, so I'll think back on things that made me mad,
Ah.
and I draw from that anger, I draw from that energy, and I apply it to what I need right now, so that I can have some energy to move forward.
And you know what I think you draw from that anger is not the anger, it's the grit that you learned. The
Absolutely.
grit. You
Absolutely.
got grit,
Yep.
Joel. You know how to put your
Yep.
nose on that grindstone and leave it there until it's bloody.
Mhm.
That
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's
developed
about.
grit. Yeah. You know,
Absolutely.
sometimes people look at people like you and like me and they think, yeah, but now they have it all smooth sailing. And just as you pointed out, we got still a crate of lemons over here. A week and a
Absolutely.
half ago, I turned 69. And my partner and I had so many plans for my birthday. We were going to, go play pickleball early in the morning. And then we were going to go to the gym. And then we were going to go, and do golf. And then we were going to come back and we were going to go out to a great lunch. And then we were going to take a hike. I mean, all day of activity. We were so excited.
Yeah.
I thought, this is how I want to celebrate this birthday. And on
Love it.
Wednesday, I discovered that I had two cysts in my back that were
Man.
putting pressure on nerves and that I needed to stay relaxed until they could get
Mhm.
me in for a procedure. I
Right.
sat on that sofa right over there all day and felt sorry for myself.
Wow.
And I thought, I've worked this hard to get here
Right.
and this is what happens now.
That's tough.
And the next day, I remembered the principle we've been talking about. Wait, Mary, did you completely forget who you are? That this struggle is a gift? That the
Exactly.
struggle is your gift to take a look, to reassess. And so I woke up the next morning. I was like, well, what can I do in the meantime? I can walk. Okay, I'm going to walk. And so this
Hmm.
last week, I've just been walking every day. And tomorrow I get this procedure done and hopefully those cysts will be gone and
Hmm.
I can be back at myself. But if that doesn't work, Joel, I'm going to apply your principles that it isn't just about fun.
Hmm.
And
It's
I'm
what
going to win anyway.
you you have no other option.
I have no
No
other
other
option.
option. Happy belated too, by the way.
Yeah.
And definitely hope the best for the procedure. But you have no other option. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that was my problem before. I gave myself options, and those options was included, and one of them options was a way out, and I couldn't do that to myself anymore. It's like if I gave myself a way out, I highly entertained that way out the moment things didn't go the preferred way. And I didn't make adjustments because I'm like, nope, I got this way out. So I'm gonna just take that one. I'll exit the stage right. And it's like, had I only stayed in it just a little bit longer, I would have realized the struggle was the sweet spot. And, it's like that's like you said, that's the gift. It's, I wish more people knew it. And, as they read our books, that hopefully they see it and they'll be able to, take that in and ingest it. But that's I know it to be true by this point, already. I've seen how cyclic life is. So
Yeah.
many things were, just kind of comes back around. The same principles comes back around, the same lessons. It may be in a different way. One may be in a relationship, one may be in business, but it's the same exact principle. I'm like, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And just recognizing these patterns, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to keep having to relearn these same lessons when I can develop some foresight now and not have to always wait on hindsight to reveal stuff to me. I'm like, no, I know this. I know what's coming. I can tell what I'm in right now as I'm in it.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
That you don't have to rely on hindsight, but you can have foresight.
Right.
How many
Right.
times have we said that? Well, in hindsight,
Right.
how about developing a little foresight?
Some
Joel,
foresight.
I love that. You have been a gift to me today and to my listeners. And tell us the
Thanks.
title of your book again and when it will be available.
So the title of my book is Filtering: The Way to Extract Strength from the Struggle. And It's pretty much available now, you could say, on Amazon.
Okay.
And, we can go ahead and order it. We'll have it in Audible, ebook version as well as paperback. So, feel free to gift a few friends, family members. Trust me, it's, very inspiring read, very motivational, for everybody that
Yeah.
reads it. And I know without a doubt it'll help you with time.
I'm going to buy it. I know it will help me in the things that
Thank
I
you.
have ahead of me. And I just think of all the people who I know who are in the middle of struggle. That what a great gift for them. If I just had 12 copies here and just could give it to them for their birthday all year long. I
Thank
love
you so
that.
much. Thank you,
Joel,
man.
you
Look,
are a
Mary,
gift to me.
thank you. I appreciate it, and I will be, getting your book as well. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
You're wonderful. You are an inspiration. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today and learning more about how we craft that meaningful life.
Listen to the full podcast today and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. Crafting a Meaningful Life with Mary Crafts.